this is Faith at Faith and Books. I haven't sat in this spot for a while. The lighting is weird here though. But anyway, I'm just going to do a quick update about my reading. I just finished a book, a wonderful book called A Sense of the World, which I buddy read with Mark at Book Time with Elvis, and we both really, really enjoyed it. This was a reread for me. I had listened to it on audio, then I had bought the book, given it to my aunt who since passed away, who was a world traveler, and then I just finished it, and it's a good book. It's a really good book. I highly recommend it. But first, I'm going to talk about Scoop by Evelyn Waugh. I forgot to mention that I finished that in November, I guess in the first week. Anyway, it's a humorous book. It was published in 1938. It's kind of dated. The language is dated. Minorities, he uses derogatory terms that we would not use today. Not overly much, but at least once. If you made a list of terms for people in Africa, he would have used at least one of the terms. So that really kind of spoils it and makes it very dated. But it was very funny. It was very well written and funny. It was a very satirical view of pretty much everything. The press, the British press, the colonialism, just all sorts of characters, foreign service. So yeah, it was funny. It was enjoyable. I read it for the humorous book club of the month. Humorous Book of the Month Club. Yeah. Anyway, so I enjoyed it. And the thing is, I had thought that I had tried to read it before and DNF'd it, but no, I had actually read the whole thing. As I was reading it, I was remembering it. Not enough that I could tell you what was going to happen, but it was familiar to me. So it didn't leave much of an impression, not like, say his great masterpiece, Brideshead Revisited. But it was a good book. I think I wound up giving it 4 stars. So that was that. So I did finish that in November. November hasn't been the most productive reading month. I DNF'd. I'm not DNFing it. I'm putting it on hold. Lorna Doone. I just couldn't make any headway, and I just had too much going on. So I just laid it aside, and I was in 2 reading groups for that: the Victorian read-along and the separate Lorna Doone read-along. And you can hear the water going through my pipes, possibly. That always happens when I'm trying to record here. But anyway, yeah, so I did put Lorna Doone on hold. Maybe one day I'll get back to it. I didn't put it on hold because I didn't like it. I liked it a lot. It was a very cozy, old-fashioned read. I didn't mind that it was wordy or anything like that. I thought it lended to its descriptive value, and just sort of the nature of the book is a kind of Mirandering. Is that the right word? Anyway, it's this old guy reminiscing about his life. Okay, so I was okay with that. It was too much, and it was just going too slowly, and so I gave that up. So let me get to A Sense of the World by Jason Roberts. He uncovered this guy who had pretty much been lost to history, but he just sort of stumbled on a mention of him and was intrigued, and so he researched. And James Holman was at one time a very popular travel writer, and he tells the whole story, and it's absolutely fascinating. And this guy Holman just has run-ins with so many people that we know of now. For instance, he traveled and wrote such detailed descriptions of flora and fauna in I forget what islands, that Charles Dickens actually used him as a resource when he was writing. He just, so many things, like he befriended, he went to medical school, University of Edinburgh, and he befriended this doctor who also went, and that doctor was treating John Keats in Rome, and then John Keats died, and he took his room And he didn't even know. I mean, this was before nobody knew John Keats was going to be famous. And just he has all sorts of strange coincidences like that. Really, really interesting person. It really made me think of he talks about how he traveled and how he was able to be so independent. And instead of relying on touch, which is what a lot of blind people rely on when they travel, or just to get around, not just traveling, but just to cope every day with movement, with having to walk and go places. He relied on his hearing. So he almost developed like the sense of echolocation, which proved to be really accurate. It just made me think about my own mother lost her sight, but she still loved to travel. She still loved to be in different places. Like she could, she was sad that she couldn't see the beautiful things. The first time she traveled to Europe, she was she was an Anglophile and also just loved European history. And the first, I guess, couple of times she traveled, she was sighted, but then she lost her sight for a while, and but she still loved going because there's the energy and the different smells and the different language and the different layouts of things. And I guess my dad was a good travel companion. He described everything to her, and she knew a lot about history and such, so she knew that she was actually just standing in a place that was of historical significance. So and this guy was blind. He wasn't so much, well, maybe he was about history, but he wanted to go to unknown lands. He wanted to go out into the wilderness and do what no man had done before. So, especially a blind person. So, anyway, very, very interesting book. I highly, highly recommend it. Definitely gets 5 stars from me. Then, the other 2 things I wanted to quickly mention is that I've decided I have to have a different strategy for my reading since I'm just slowing down because my eyes are so bad. Determined to have my cataracts operation in the summer. But it's really slowing me down. My eyes fatigue really fast. And so it's just really hard to read. I just can only do so much reading in a day. So I've decided I need to rely more on my Kindle, which I sort of didn't want to do because of Amazon, because I read that book about how bad Amazon is to everybody. Authors that get their books on Kindle, they don't get much. Also audio, they don't get much money from it. But somehow, I don't know when I signed up for it a few years ago, there's this thing called Bookgorilla, and they give you these steep discounts on books from Amazon that you can get on your Kindle. And I feel like if I get something free or really, really cheap, it must mean that Amazon isn't getting it either. And usually it's not like a current author. So I want to read Felix Holt by George Eliot in January, and I was wondering, well, how am I going to do that? Well, in this Bookgorilla thing, that I just get it in my email, and then I look through and see if there's any book there that I like, and usually there's nothing. Like, it's very rare. I think I've only twice before gotten something from it. But they had all of George Eliot's works for 49 cents. So I downloaded it. And I looked to see if the formatting was okay, because sometimes when you download stuff like that, like my husband did that, he downloaded all of Jane Austen's works, and you can't figure out how to navigate it. It's just really, really poorly done, so that it's really hard to find your place on the Kindle. But this looks like they were conscientious about that. They even mentioned that they have chapters, and it tells you, it doesn't tell you page number, it tells you location, which bugs me because I can't follow that long. But as long as I can get to the chapter, I feel like that's good. And what I tend to do is take notes, and then if I go and I find my notes, then I can orient myself that way. And I might just have to learn to look at those longer numbers. Anyway, I have Felix Holt now on Kindle, all of George Eliot's works on Kindle for 49 cents. So I think that's a triumph. And then the other thing I decided to do was to try to listen to more audiobooks, see if I can, because I drive a lot. They're not long trips. I'm just driving back and forth to the school or back and forth to my grandson's house. But, you know, that adds up to almost an hour of driving every day. I could get some serious listening done. So I decided to get the Librivox app, and I discovered that they have Phineas Finn. So I started reading Phineas Finn in October. Haven't gotten very far. I still haven't picked it up. I'm going to forget completely who people are. I'm going to have to go back and start again. But it's for free on Librivox. I found it on Librivox. So I think that this new strategy might work. I'm just going to get Kindle books that I want to read as cheaply as I can, either free or steeply discounted. And then I'm just going to rely on on Librivox for my audio stuff. And it's just, you know, it's going to limit what I'm reading, but that's okay. I can find a lot of things on, there's a lot of things. I tend to read backlisted books anyway, older books, so I don't think it'll be too bad. And then, of course, I'll probably have to have some book, you know, to read. But if it's just one, that's not too bad on my eyes. It's when I'm just trying to read a whole succession of books and, you know, they're like that. I just can't do it. My eyes can't handle it. So that's it for my update. Let's see, anything else coming up? I don't know. I'm loving Confessions by St. Augustine, having a very good time reading that. I'm going to get back into that. I sort of put that on hold for this weekend so I could finish The Sense of the World. Anyway, I'm in America, so I'm getting ready to celebrate Thanksgiving. So if you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And I guess I will talk to you later. Take care. Happy reading.